All right, good morning. Happy Monday. Here for an Astronomy and Coffee. And yes, today I do have some coffee with monk fruit and creamer. So let's settle in and let's see what's going on out there in the cosmos. A couple things I want to cover today. One of which is going to be the battle between the moons of Saturn and Jupiter. Whether or not Earth has a new moon, and I want to start on occasion covering some sci-fi movies and taking a look at some of these fictional worlds and places and seeing if there is any type of real-life counterpart in our own known universe. So let's settle in, have ourselves a cup of coffee here, and look at what's going on in the astronomical world. In our universe here. So as I mentioned at the start of this thing, we're going to take a look here at Saturn and Jupiter. Now, as a planetarium writer of shows, I have to update the shows every year almost with the new number of moons Jupiter and Saturn have. And they've been kind of going back and forth on who has the most number of moons. But as of early this year, Jupiter has had the largest number of moons at 95. But with the recent discoveries of, as of late, Saturn is now in the lead with the most moons at 146. 146 moons. Now, this should be noted that all of these extra moons discovered are what's referred to as irregular moons. Now, Saturn has 24 regular moons and 122 smaller or irregular moons. Now, whenever I say regular moons, I'm talking about things like our own moon, something that looks like a moon, is very spherical in shape, Enceladus, Titan, Io, moons like that. Now, these irregular moons look a little bit different. Now, this comes about after the discovery of 63 new moons. All are only a few kilometers in size, and they have orbits that are very far from the planet. Now, the new report more than doubles Saturn's irregular moons. This is all a result from a series of observations at the Academia Sinica Institute of Astronomy and Astrophysics in Taiwan, as well as with colleagues made with the Canada-France-Hawaii telescope. Now, they suspect a collision between two large objects over 100 million years ago caused this. What caused all these irregular moons? The group that found these, they use what's called a shift and stack technique, where they look for objects and the object's movement across images. So they'll take several images and then they'll examine these images to see if there's any movement going on, and then they'll examine those movements to see if those things are in fact moons. Now, the current estimate is that Saturn has roughly 150 irregular moons, at least 2 miles across, which leaves dozens left to find in this particular size range. Well, I mentioned a little earlier that there's a question of whether or not Earth has a new moon or a new quasi-moon. Let's take a look at this. So this is a recent discovery of something that has been around for quite some time. This recently discovered asteroid in solar orbit is in what is called resonance with Earth. So the question is it a moon or is it something like a quasi-moon? We don't really have a definition for what this particular thing is, but it is called 2023 or 2023 FW13. It's only about 65 feet wide, but it has been in Earth's vicinity since at least 100 BC and will likely continue until at least 3700 AD. So it's going to be here for a while. Now, this asteroid's orbit is eccentric. And it sweeps halfway out to Mars and halfway into Venus. So it's not like Luna, or our moon. It's a little bit different with this. It is in gravitational resonance with Earth. Now, even though it does indeed circle Earth, it is not really a moon. It's because the dimension of the loop is so large that Earth plays essentially no role in its motion. Let me go ahead and explain what this is. What this means is that two celestial bodies have an orbital period, which can be expressed as a ratio of two integers. In this case, Earth and 2023 FW13 have an orbital resonance of 1 to 1. Now, Something I've been kind of wanting to do here as of late is talk a little bit about some sci-fi stuff on occasion. I like movies a whole lot, and one of my favorite movies is something called Solaris. I like the 2002 Steven Soderbergh version, but there's also a, what was it, 1972? Yeah, the Tarkovsky, it's a Russian film, based on the Stanisław Lem Polish author's book, also by the same name of Solaris. So I just finished reading Solaris by Stanisław Lem, and this is after I'd already watched both the movies, the 1972 one and the 2002 Soderbergh version. So I wanted to read the book, of course, in which I just finished, and I wanted to talk a little bit about this world, because in one of the movies, in the 2002 version, the Solaris is a star, and in the 1972 version and in the book, it is actually a planet that is orbiting around two stars, a binary star system. So the question is there a world out there that is like Solaris, and is there a world out there that is orbiting around two stars? Well, the movies in the book differ a bit here and there, so we can take a look at a few variations in the real universe that we live in. Now, for starters, in the Russian movie and in the book, Solaris is actually a planet orbiting two stars, a red star and a blue star. Now, this planet is almost completely covered with an ocean that, over time, scientists have realized it is actually a sentient being, or some type of sentient being. They know that it's trying to communicate with them in some way. So the planet has one inhabitant, and it is this living ocean. Now, in the 2002 version, Solaris is portrayed as a star, and everything takes place on a space station that is orbiting around this star. Now, if you haven't seen either film or read the book, I would highly recommend all of them, because the 2002 version has always been one of my favorite films, as well as one of my favorite film soundtracks. Now, they all deal with the nature of human encounters and, I guess, wanting to find some type of contact with something that is assuredly real, something else that is out there. The Solaris, the living organism on the planet, it tries to make contact with humans by way of memory and remembrance. It's very different than many other sci-fi films or books in that the contact being made isn't verbal or in any type of traditional human concepts. It's a meditative and psychological look at not only the characters, but also a battle between their responsibilities as scientists and with their individual desires. So that being said, is there anything out there that is like Solaris? Well, like I said, there are two different versions. There's the planet orbiting two stars, and then there is the Solaris as a star itself. Now, in the book, in the Russian movie, Solaris is a planet orbiting two stars. Now, for years, scientists thought that a planet orbiting two stars would have an orbit that was completely unstable and not worth observing or exploring. Now, this is referencing the book. So in the book, they found this planet orbiting these two stars, but they thought that it wouldn't have a very stable orbit. But what intrigued them was that Solaris, the planet, actually had a very stable orbit. Now, this is later revealed that the orbital stability was due to the living ocean being able to stabilize its own orbit. Spoiler alert, not really spoiling things, but... Well, there is also a binary star system that we know out there that is called Beta Cygni, or the Alberio A system, and it also has a red star and a blue star. One of the stars is indeed a red supergiant. Now, the other star is a fainter blue star, just like in the book, or similar to the book. However, the possibility of there being a world completely covered in a sentient ocean is unknown, but we do have a star system much like in Solaris. Now, there's also a star and a planet named after the Lem creations. Now, there's a star called Solaris, which was discovered by a Polish team of astronomers, which, of course, the author is also Polish. Now, this star is called Solaris, and it is also visible in the nighttime sky, and it can be found in the constellation Pegasus. It's about 160 light years away, and we do know that it has an exoplanet by the name of Pirx, P-I-R-X. It's very close to the size of Jupiter, and it does orbit within the star's habitable zone. However, it is a gas giant, which means there's no solid surface. So the thought of there being, or the reality of there being an ocean on this planet is quite remote. However, it might have a a moon that could support an ocean, which reads the thoughts of the people that are traveling around it or on it. But you have to see the movie to know what I'm talking about. So there is no word as of yet whether or not the star can read minds and materialize people based on their memories, but time will tell. So there are two things out there. There is the binary star system, Alvario A, which has a blue star and the red supergiant. There's also an actual star out there named Solaris, which has an exoplanet that orbits around it called Perks. And Perks is also it's a reference to another one of his novels, or maybe a character. I think it's called Pilot Perks, from one of his short stories. So, alrighty. Well, there you have it. Also, this weekend, actually, this whole week here is the peak of the Perseids meteor shower. I talked about that last week. So, if you want to know a bit more about the Perseid meteor shower, you can go to the episode last week. Now, we do have some upcoming events coming up. We do have an Art After Hours launch party. This is going to be in our Republic Finance Gallery. This is going to be Friday, August 18th from 6 to 8:30. And so this exhibit, which was designed to celebrate the year's 20th anniversary of the Irene W. Pennington Planetarium, features 8 contemporary artists searching for answers to life's mysteries by combining art and science. So please go to our website, lesm.org, to check out that and some more details on the upcoming Art After Hours launch party, Friday, August 18th. And then after that, we do have the Studio Saturdays printmaking on fabric with Kelsey Livingston on August 19th. Also, again, on August 26th. So you can come out and check out that here at the museum. And with that, folks, hope you enjoyed that art and astronomy and also coffee involved in this situation with my monk fruit and creamer as I am trying to lose weight and get svelte. So, cheers to you all. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next week.